Hi, I'm Margaret from Clay Creation Studio. Today I'm going to be doing a lesson for beginners on just a basic bowl. I'm going to talk about some key techniques that I want you to remember that will help you be successful with your bowl, and then also some things that I see that go wrong for students in learning how to throw evenly. Alright, first thing, I centered the clay already, so the clay is centered. Some of the things I look for when I'm teaching is I want to make sure all this clay is off the side too. So when I do go to pull up on the right side, I'm not going to have my fingers moving up and down because there's clay on the bat, but also I want to go all the way down to the bottom so I can lift all the clay up. Alright, first thing, I'm going to open it up, make a hole. I'm connecting my hands, bracing my elbow. And I keep the pressure towards my body. So what do I mean by that? As I'm going down, I'm pulling closer to the inside edge here. Okay? That way, I'm less likely for it to get uneven when I open it up and make the hole. Alright, second step, my left hand again is braced along the side, just like I would be if I'm centering. My right hand goes inside, and before I start, let's talk about how to thin out the walls. I'm going to push towards my left hand, towards my wrist, and then I'm going to come straight up. Sometimes I see people pull past their wrist. They pull it past the base, and then it rips on you, or it gets uneven. Another thing that happens a lot is when you're pulling towards your wrist without realizing it, your left hand that was stable when you were centering softens a little bit, and you pull the clay back, and the next thing you know, it's off center. Again, you're like, wait, how'd that happen? It was center when I started. But it could just be that your left hand is not stable. Okay? Sometimes I say push back a little bit. So you pull along the bottom. When you get to the corner of the inside wall, stop, make sure, push down a little bit in the corner, and make sure it feels even and it's not going up and down. Push in when you feel like it's even. Come straight up with your fingers. Remember, left hand always stays down. They don't come up together. Left one stays at the bottom. Right one comes in, into the corner. Wait till it feels even. When it does, keep your fingers straight and you come straight up like this. So, what will happen if you don't keep your fingers straight? This feels natural when you pull across the edge to continue coming up like this and turning your fingers. But if you do, your walls will get too thin on the top, and our goal is we want our walls to be even. So when you pull across towards your rim, make sure your fingers stay straight when you come straight up. Alright, so here I go. I push towards my left hand, towards my wrist. I'm in the corner, waiting till it feels even. I widen it, and I keep my fingers straight as I come up. Now, I'm going to compress the rim. Very, very important. Every time I pull up, I compress the rim. This keeps my pot strong, or my bowl strong. I take my finger and my thumb, take my other finger from my other hand, and right at the tip, I push down. Be careful not to do this. That can actually make it worse, or like that. You want to just pinch the very top. Keep your elbows braced against your body when you do that. Alright. Okay, one more time. I go across the bottom. When I'm in the corner, I wait till it feels even. Come straight up with my inside fingers, right? Left hand stays down. When I get to the top, I compress my rim. Now, I'm going to slow my speed even more. Add water. And I'm going to lift the clay up and pull up. Let's talk about the right position for your hands. This, too, seems to sometimes be a challenge for people learning. When you first start to pull up, things I want you to focus on. Brace your elbows against your body or on your knees, depending on how big you're working with your clay. Connect your thumbs. That helps. I'm going to make sure that these 3 fingertips are sideways, even though maybe one of them is going to be the real pressure, but the other 2 are going to be there for support. Sometimes I see people pull up this way and the clay's more likely to rip. You have less control. The other thing that I see that happens is that as the wheel's spinning, when you're first learning, you might not realize that your wrist turns and you start pulling up like this. We don't want to do that because you don't have this as much control. You're more likely to rip it. You want to stay at 3 o'clock. If we think about this like a clock, 12, 3, 6, 9. You want to stay at 3 o'clock right here. Okay, so I'm going to push in. Slowly I lift the clay up, I push. My thumbs are braced together. My elbows are braced either on my knees or against my body, and I come up slowly, 1 full turn at a time. Make sure your wheel's slow too, because if you see the clay wobbling, and that means your speed is too fast. Get to the top and compress your rim. That's my rim. Now, when you're first learning, we don't focus so much on the shape of your bowl until the end for shaping. Once you get more proficient, you learn how to pull up and shape at the same time. But to lift all this clay up from the bottom up, you want to make sure that you get the size bowl for the amount of clay you have. So I would rather you spend a little time just focusing on getting the clay moving up and shaping at the end. Again, I have my thumbs braced together. I'm going slow with my speed. When I get to the top, I compress my rim. If you see this, people's first reaction is to want to collar it in and bring it in to save it. But if you do, especially when your clay is thin, it will actually do the opposite and it'll collapse and warp on you. So instead, you can take your hand or you can take a rib and just slightly pull it out. Pull it out. Or you can use a rib. I like ribs because I like to round the bottom. I don't want my spoon or fork to catch on an edge. I like it to be really round. Okay. And now what I'm going to do at the end is I want to have a nice curve at the bottom of my bowl. I don't have the ledge there. I want a continuation, a nice round bowl so that, oops, when I go to eat something out of it, my fork won't get stuck. So I'm going to use this tool just to check, round it down there at the bottom so my spoon or fork don't catch on an edge. Make sure I take all the water out. Sometimes people feel a little nervous about pushing hard at the bottom, but it's actually smart to do that, because if you don't, sometimes you end up with a little bit of a stress crack and then you can't use your bowl for food. So spending a little bit of time at the end pushing from the outside in is a good idea. Okay. Look at the outside, look at the inside, and then the last thing I'm going to do here is just soften my rim so that the glaze will adhere nicely. I never want my rim to be too thin. My walls are a little bit thinner than the rim, but I like my rim depending on the size of the bowl to match. So make it slightly bigger. And there we go. I do the undercut. And I'll trim this bowl later. Thanks for watching. See you next time.